All right, we are live. No intro, no nothing. Do you know why? Because I put us in the wrong room again. That's why it's weird, Julia. This is why I tell SAR I should not do shows by myself because all the clips that I had loaded up, that's why we're starting late, are in the other effing room. It's like having a Super Bowl party and having a ton of people over and being like, oh, all the food is at my friend's house including the game, but he's going to text me and keep you guys updated. Yes, hello, Julia. I am so angry at myself, but I tell SAR I do not have the capability to do the show on my own. We've done 110, and here we are. Yeah, we're going to do the best that we can. The notifications you're getting is for an empty room that ironically has everything that we absolutely need. But we do have a lot to discuss. I did have lots of visuals to go with it, but we'll have to put those in post. So let's get started. I hope I have enough to talk about today. And the day started off as normally as they do. I'm driving SAR to work, as I often do. And we're kind of on the straightaway a few minutes from her place of employment, and the traffic started to slow down. And I'm like, what is going on here? Why is the traffic slowing down? And then so I get over to go around this slow car, and it's a totally blacked out. I believe the kids call it when you have an all black car with black tints and black rims. It's called murdered out. That's what the kids call it. But it was completely an all blacked out, pretty cool minivan, and it just doesn't look like when you see minivans now. They look like they're driven by people that should have minivans, people that have businesses where they're like, we don't care about this car, we take cargo in this, or our kids are 51. Like people, there's not a lot of people that have minivans that look like this. It looked like they just bought it today. And I'm looking at this kind of pristine, kind of cool looking minivan, and it's going so slow. And I go, what the heck is going on? And then as I start to kind of pull up on it, like sirens come out of all sides of it. Sirens like in the blacked out windows. And at first I thought they were coming after me because I thought it was a police car that was, undercover. But then it did a move that you feel like only really dumb ICE agents would do on a weekday morning when people are going to work. It's a 2-lane road downtown. This is downtown. And it's in the far left lane. The only other lane is the right lane. It immediately cuts me off to the point where I thought they were going to cut in front of our car and hit the brakes and, force us to stop and get us out of the car. But instead, they went from the left lane, cut us off, and then like kind of jackknifed their way into an empty parking space, which was on the right side of the road, and then just kind of parked there. Didn't do anything, didn't pull anybody over. It was just the dumbest road maneuver done by an all black, pristine, brand new vehicle. And I was like, oh, guess what, SAR? That was ICE. We ran into actual ICE in downtown Denver this morning. And I think part of what the Trump administration did by, first of all, tipping their hand and saying, maybe we went in with too heavy of a hand, and then kind of the pullback, which was a victory and should be celebrated as a victory for the citizens of Minneapolis. What they've done is, I haven't seen any market retreat. They're clearly still in our cities. I just think that they know that having such an imposing presence, such a loud presence, just isn't good for them optics wise. And especially with the midterms coming up, they can't have another Alex Peretti. They can't have another Renee Good. So they're just like, let's just do our shady stuff a little bit quieter. So they're here, definitely in Denver. And, this is a weird kind of side story, but Sarah and I were walking into our building a couple weeks ago, and she pointed out that there was a flyer that said, if you know of any ongoing ICE operations, have families that are in need, call this number for. I didn't read it all, maybe for legal representation or what their rights were. And a few days later, Sarah's a lot more observant than me. She goes, "Did you notice that somebody took that flyer down?" So that means that somebody here is pro-ICE. So don't we can mark our victories where we want to mark them, and I think those definitely should be noted. I think the citizens of Minneapolis have a great chance to get the Nobel Peace Prize that President Trump so desperately wants. But for as much as we can celebrate that victory, just know that there are people around you, people in traffic around you that are ICE agents or ICE agent supporters. So the battle is not lost. I'm going to try and put this clip into uh, our show because I desperately want to show you guys this video that had to do with the children in. I don't know if you guys saw the kids in New Jersey in which the ICE monsters, I think we're allowed to call them that, are still conducting raids as we speak. And that's why I said, guys, the battle is not won. For as much as I can't wait to celebrate, maybe I'll actually drink with y'all that day that they're actually all gone. But I think at this point, we need to all be very cognizant of what's going on. Let me pull that up for you in a second. In the meantime, what's up, y'all? Sorry to come on here so hot. I was excited to start the show, nervous to start the show, hoping like, well, you know, I didn't mess up or anything. I didn't do anything like, you know, put all the elements that I needed for the show in another studio. That would be crazy. And I did all those things. So I started the show with Fear and Joy, which is going to be the name of my next comedy album. All right, so this is loading up, and let's take a look at what's going on with our wonderful tax dollars. I just, I can't believe this is reality. And also, I want to talk to you guys after this video plays about I think we all understand how to kind of emotionally work through what we're seeing. Unfortunately, a lot of us have lived through a version of tyranny like this at one point or another in this country or another. But like, what are we going to do with our kids? Because the fact that they're targeting kids, we saw this a little bit with Trump 1.0, but you know, kids that are definitely going to deal with trauma, lifelong trauma. So let's play this now.
The news is the fear and chaos as an apparent ICE operation unfolded near a South Jersey school bus stop.
4th and 5th grade students running from the presence of ICE agents. Children scattered in different directions. One child yelling in Spanish, ICE is there. The kids are still wearing their backpacks.
It set off what school district officials called, quote, significant fear and confusion for kids in the area.
I just said, I need to run. They could maybe come after us, trying to find our parents. I was gagging. I almost threw up. I feel like they're just gonna come out of nowhere and take my parents.
Yep. That child is going to be an adult one day. I don't know how you can convince me that child isn't going to need significant, and that's just one of hundreds. That child is just one of so many raids that we don't know about. And I'm wondering when the chickens are going to come home to roost. And hopefully it comes home in the form of the ballot box. But unfortunately, what I do think it will come home in the form of is a lot of PTSD, mistrust of authority figures, mistrust of legal people that are supposed to represent the law. When you hear about police going after their parents and them in their communities, how do you think that manifests itself when this kid is a little bit older? When this kid has a chance to attempt to process the fear and the anger of what they went through and what they've seen, because a lot of these kids will know people or be related to people that they literally lost in this situation whether these people were deported, or it seems like we're not really in the business of deporting too many people anymore. It's going to be the people that are detained. So interesting. Do you guys remember during the Bush years when they lied to get us over to Iraq? Eventually, it was they definitely have weapons of mass destruction, and then as that revealed itself to be a total lie, then the message kind of switched to finding any country that's involved in terrorist activities, and it just broadened it out, and it made it so, oh, this is the reason why we're there, because initially it was, we need to find criminals and deport them from this country. And first of all, it's one of those things where almost doesn't need to be said. This country goes after criminals, and do we have the people in jail to prove it? We jail more people than any other country on the planet. USA. And so announcing that you need to go after criminals doesn't need to be said. Announcing that you're going to go after people that are here and undocumented or here illegally, that almost doesn't need to be said. But that was a huge rallying cry. Doesn't get a lot of pushback because it's almost implied with any country's laws. If I went over to France with no visa and ran off the plane, we would assume they'd be looking for me. I'm there illegally. They catch me eating a baguette saying, let me finish this and we can go back to the US. But, as they quickly realize that criminals do not hang out in Home Depot parking lots, criminals do not usually attend Sunday church services and their nieces, quinceañeras, it then just went to all people that are undocumented. And also what was lost in that, and we can't forget, was the idea that we're going to deport them. When was the last time you really heard that? Now we're hearing detain. Well, which one is it? Are you deporting me or detaining me? Both start with D, but they're very different things. If I sneak into a nightclub, the two biggest bouncers are going to find the back double exit doors and use my head to open it and toss me out into the alley. They don't find people that have snuck into this nightclub illegally and have an area to hold them for a few weeks until they figure out what they're going to do. Shouldn't there just be buses and planes constantly going back to these countries like they said that the entire plan was? I never heard anything about detention facilities, first of all, being purchased in real time and being enlarged, to the point where now we're going to have tens of thousands of people inside of these. So we're no longer in the deportation business, is what I'm hearing from this government. And we all know why. Like we've talked about with privatized prisons, this is about money, and this is about detaining people and making them stay here and stay in these privately owned facilities and continue to generate money, because that's how we've decided to do it, since we decided to not really care about the economy that much, except for the Dow is up 50,000. So, we found ourselves in a real tough situation as citizens. And also, I'll tell you who else finds himself in a tough situation, and that would be MAGA in general. All these MAGA podcasters were very excited to talk, their base, their followers, into voting for this regime. And the disappointment in them is weirdly almost more than with the people that didn't vote for this. I was disappointed in them because I'm like, oh, well, you're clearly racist, and there is a lot of that. But as I hear the anger and kind of the shell shock, there's nothing behind their eyes, and they're like, well, he's not doing what he said. I'm like, I think they really thought he was going to do it. Trump had already been president. We already saw this. But, they thought that at that point, one-term president who then had 4 trials going on simultaneously in Atlanta, Florida, New York, I will say this, Trump diversified his portfolio. New York, it was real estate fraud. Atlanta, it was the fake electors and get me 11,000 something votes. And Florida, it was stealing top secret documents. That's how you handle your business, y'all. You don't focus on one thing. You keep your basket full of different kinds of crimes that you were eventually going to be exonerated from by the judges that you appointed. It works out kind of well. But what we did notice was these MAGA influencers, or what we have noticed is these MAGA podcasters. Obviously, I had no idea who they were, but these people that have huge platforms are very, very upset with their president. And who knew that the Epstein Files would be the breaking point for a lot of these people? It's weird because after you hear this MAGA, I believe his name's Sean, I'll get his name by the time he's done talking, but he's a big MAGA podcaster. By the time he's done talking, you realize like how impactful the Epstein Files and the blatant cover-up has been to his base. I thought that they would let anything with Trump slide. They let the COVID lies slide. They let the trying to attempt the overthrow of the government, that slid. It was just a party that got out of hand. But this Epstein stuff is not going away, and it is continuing to resonate with their base. So let's take a look at this here.
This Epstein Files stuff. Whoa. Is it even real? Unfortunately, probably so, and that's why we continue to fight to get the rest of this stuff out. But it is worse than we were all expecting. But I'll tell you one thing that it has proved. Watching the administration dodge it and try to hurry it up and move along. I just saw today they don't think the American people should be talking about this anymore. Well, I got news for you. The American people are the ones that voted you in. We're the ones that voted you in, and we told you what we wanted before your ass got in there. And you're not doing it. None of these people that we elected. It's pathetic. And so what it shows is a two-tier justice system, just like we all suspected and we've been talking about for years. The two-tier justice system. Why would you not investigate every single son of a that went to that island? Doesn't mean they're all guilty. Doesn't mean that at all. But it at least calls for some type of investigation, not just sweeping the shit under the rug like they always do. And they always have done. They bat this shit around. They get people all fired up. And then there's no justice.
Now, welcome to our world. Welcome to the world of being a minority and watching cops that just killed somebody on my phone get up and hug their wife and say, what are we having for dinner after they're exonerated? Yes. I don't know. You know what's so weird about hearing that guy talk is I bet you like on a lot of levels, we probably have the same concerns. We're probably both dads. We probably want some transparency in our government, and we probably want a pretty quiet life. But there's no money in that. There's money in riling people up by saying Democrats are doing this and they're taking our country, when really it looks like he's doing great. I know those Ray-Bans he had on. Those are expensive shades. I'm sure he got them from a sponsorship, and I'm sure he's doing financially really well. But it still has not deterred him or his flock from really complaining about the Epstein Files and the blowback from it. So I have some pictures here. And these are, because don't forget, the Epstein Files are still being gone through by a lot of private citizens. And the first one I wanted to bring up is this one, because and that's not me with poor resolution. This was taken from across the room, but people are speculating that this is a young Donald Trump. I'm not sure, because now granted, we are all pretty sure that he had some pretty deep involvement with Epstein, but I feel like Donald was slimmer back in the day. But it's kind of a pose that he would have when he's as close as he could possibly be to having fun or joy in his life. This next one, and this is going to be a trigger warning. These are the kind of pictures that were released by the government. I'm trying to give you guys a heads up. This one is with some random dude, but I think we need to understand what was going on over there. And weirdly, we need to kind of toughen ourselves up to start to look at things like this. And don't worry, it is blacked out. This is obviously a very young girl. This is just on a bookshelf. This is on a bookshelf in a frame with just some guy that just couldn't be happier. These are the kinds of people that we have elected to our government. And when I say we, some of us fought against, and we all did our work. I tried to do it on television. Other people did it online. Some people did it on podcasts. Some people did it in the streets. And we were shouted down. We were told that we were in hysterics. And we were, and quite frankly, when it comes to the Epstein Files, I thought that when I had heard some of the QAnon, they're eating children thing, I thought that was hysterical. And clearly it wasn't. Let's check in on the ambassador to Turkey. Last I checked, he was part of the Trump administration, and I believe he still is our ambassador to Turkey. Don't worry, Turkey's in the the coalition of friends. What did Trump? Who in the comments? Somebody tell me, what did we call our new insane cabal of psychopath countries? The something Brothers of Peace or something. Let's check in on Tom Barrack. Okay. Now this is him. Now I know that you guys are like, Al, why are you showing us pictures of the oldest living tortoise and where is its shell? First of all, that's not funny, okay? And that's mean to tortoises, because tortoises don't send messages like this. If you can't read it, I'll read it for you. It's basically, it's an email from Jeffrey Epstein to our ambassador to Turkey. And it said, send me a picture of you and a child to make me smile. This is who your tax dollars are going to pay right now. Right now, it's going to this guy. And we had a lot of emails from a number of psychopathic dirtbags. This one is from, let's see. Should we get to the deleting of the? Well, let's do this first, and then we'll talk about all the deletions. And I'll take myself out of this one, even though I'm a beautiful man. This is from John Brockman. He's an author and obviously friend of Jeffrey Epstein. And he sent him, he sent Epstein a picture saying, Jeffrey Epstein asked, "Are you well?" He says, "Better than well. I think things are going well, but no, Jeffrey." They're like kids that fell in love over summer camp in the mid-90s before there was an internet. So you're sending like these kind of sappy love letters to each other. I'm better than well. Things are going well, but no, Jeffrey. When am I going to see you? Give me a call tomorrow if you're bored at home. And John Brockman then goes on to say, you missed a big event in the East Village on Saturday, a party with a dozen or so one-year-olds. That's written at the bottom of that. I don't know if I can move this image up. Sadly, you'll have to take my, let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, this is what was written. And this is from John Brockman. And these are the kinds of people that you will find in these emails. And because of that, the government is not super pumped about you finding that. Now, I think that we saw a lot of emails like this because all of these monsters were quite sure that they would never get caught. Let's look at this one. This is a tweet that I found. And it's I'll read it if you guys, obviously the thumbnail view doesn't let us view full documents. But basically the tweet says, "Do you want to know how evil the FBI is?" And I'll read it right here. Okay. It says, "Want to know how evil the FBI is? In 2000, Jeffrey Epstein's house manager, Alfredo Rodriguez, made a list of Epstein victims. He went to a lawyer with the list. He told them about the assaults and the trafficking, and the lawyer contacted the FBI. We're on the right path. FBI set up a sting operation. All right. No PDF files were arrested. Oh, nobody in the sting? That's interesting. No victims were interviewed. That's kind of what we've been seeing when it comes to the FBI being questioned, like, well, why didn't you follow up? And they were like, well, that wasn't a credible lead. That wasn't a credible lead. Well, the way that you keep from interviewing people that are victims are by saying, well, they're not credible. They never list why they didn't see the people making the accusations, including the Farmer sisters that made accusations way back in 1996. Like I said, I believe Biggie and Tupac were still alive. Definitely, probably Big. I was a sophomore in college. And that was when the first Epstein victims came forward. My daughter is now a freshman in college. If you want to kind of understand how much time has passed in between that, and still nobody's been arrested. Isn't that amazing? I dare any network to put on any of these propaganda shows. I want Law and Order gone. I want SVU gone. I want anything that has any law enforcement doing anything, because that is fantasy. Put that shit on the Sci-Fi Network. The fact that the FBI followed up on an investigation. The FBI was told several times about Larry Nassar over the course of decades. They closed the investigation twice. Nothing. They interviewed him. I'm a nerd. I watched the full raw investigations with Larry Nassar. They're cackling it up, laughing about it. They're kind of like, oh, he's an Olympic doctor. It's like they're interviewing like a celebrity, this wormy little man. And there were people's parents. Anyway, I'm going to get off track. So no one was arrested. And guess what? Alfredo Rodriguez, the whistleblower who made the list of all the PDF files we're talking about, we now know about. Guess who ended up in jail? I'll give you a quick second. That's right, Mr. Rodriguez. And to follow that up, this is the deleted stuff. Al, you're killing your lead-in, dum-dum. Okay, is it this one? Yes, Mr. Rodriguez died in jail. Another mysterious jail death? Come on. That's ridiculous. Besides Epstein mysteriously dying in jail, and the European of Jean-Luc Brunel, who was involved in the documentary me and my girl just watched about the modeling industry and the predatory nature that it was back in the 90s. Jean-Luc Brunel, he went to jail, and what happened to him? I'll let you fill that in. That's right. They all decided they couldn't go on anymore. Isn't that a coincidence? Isn't that weird? All right, let's move on briefly. Unfortunately, we'll never be able to get fully away from this, but I did want to talk about a disturbing trend that people are starting to see, and that is that the Trump files are starting to disappear. That's right. There are people that, and you should give this person a follow on X. His name is at Ryan Rozbiani, Rozbiani. And he said, just in, another 71 Epstein files with the word Trump deleted from the DOJ website. We are now down from 5,361 to 4,727. So that gives a grand total of 634 documents that are gone. And I believe that we are all on the same page, that we know that these files are being deleted at an incredible rate. And for as much as this should cause a lot of widespread panic within not only us, but just in general for anybody that would like to see justice done, I would like to tell you guys my one saving grace is that I know that a lot of these other countries do have access to the Epstein files. Now, whether they had the foresight to not send over the entire batch of files, one will never know. But there are a lot of survivors that are still alive and can speak to this. And I do believe that their voices will be heard. Probably they will be silenced by this administration, but 7 months from the midterms and soon, because they have no support from their side or obviously the people on the left, I believe that their words will come out, their accounts will come out. So I do believe that some of these files that are being deleted will appear somewhere, and some will never be seen because, quite frankly, for as much as I want to believe in other countries, and they are taking some steps to ensure that justice for the victims takes place, I'll say this: I don't put it past any country to try and save face and try and save their republic, because if all of the documents come out, I think in the volume and with the just level of horror that we've seen just from the few that have come out today, I don't know how the world as we know it can continue to move forward. And for as much as that might sound melodramatic, I don't know what the next 3 years in this country look like under this administration. I'm not prepared nor interested to hear anything that this government has to say about anything. I don't care if they want to go fill in the crosswalks with new white paint. I don't want to hear nothing from y'all. You guys are entirely gross. So, how do we move forward? And I've given it this analogy. Like, I feel like we're a country that's trying to drive with the emergency brake on. You can do it, but it makes a weird smell, and you know that you're doing incredible long-term damage to the car, and you really can't go any direction very well. That's what it's like with these files hanging over our head. We cannot move past them. They will not prosecute anybody involved with this. And the guy at the top seems to be the guy that's in the file more than anything. And can you imagine being in a document like this so much that there's a situation in which they delete 634 documents with your name on it, and there's still thousands more? Do you know how much shit you've done? I said with the Diddy doc, imagine that you're that awful of a person that for 4 hours you can stitch together interview after interview, a lot of times with people that never knew or met each other, and they each have a different awful story to tell about you. Like, that is 4 hours worth. And like the Epstein files alone, I mean, with no context in between these emails, would be like an old school Encyclopedia Britannica set. Now, I am obviously separating my audience. There's 2 kinds of people: one that only know Google, and one that knows the frustration of going to reach for an encyclopedia, and that one letter that you need is missing, and either you lent it to a friend or one of your siblings took it and lost it, and you're like, I'm doing a report on Vermont. We got all the other ones, no V's. Who's got the V's? I digress. I do wonder where we're going to go for this. Julia says she can't wait for Clinton's television testimony. Hillary's already starting to wobble a little bit. I think Bill is down. I think Bill has been walking around with this weight on his neck, around his neck, on his back, this incredible cross to bear of being one of the filthiest men to ever live. And maybe he's looking for a little absolution. Don't forget, for as much as a nightmare that Donald Trump is, he too has been saying, I don't know if this will get me into heaven. He knows he's falling apart in front of us. He knows that his time on this planet is coming to an end. And for as much as you can do things when you're full of vim and vigor, like I told Tori yesterday, the older you get, the quieter things get, and the more you're left to wrestle with memories. And the fact that all this stuff is coming up now, I do wonder if Bill would do it, if nothing else, just for Chelsea, just so like he can kind of give his daughter and anybody that's carrying on his name a mea culpa, saying, I did this, my family had nothing to do with it, I'm taking full accountability, and now I'm ready to go meet my maker. I mean, it really is that serious for people. Because up in, remember young Bill was debating whether it was, what was the word there? What was it? Okay, let me look. What was the word that Bill stood on with the Monica Lewinsky situation? It was like some kind of word in jail, so he couldn't really get indicted. I'm sure. I'm sure that one of the colleagues will let me know. And I mean, when you're younger, you have what the means. Yes. So that's the kind of energy you have when you're young. You're ready to fight this. You're ready to go to the mat. But Bill's moving a lot slower, and he's looking a little red himself. And I'm really interested to see if what is depends on what your meaning of is. Thank you, Gabriel. Yes. Wow. I mean, that's why we all want to have money. So you can find a lawyer that can figure that out. So you can find a lawyer like Johnny Cochran that can take you from the world's most guilty man that not only looked guilty, had every thing pointing to him, then led the police on a famous police chase, and then was exonerated. Because when you get a good lawyer, they can extract one little F up, and they can set you free. And for the most part, if it wasn't for a huge error on OJ's part, he would have lived the rest of his life playing golf. So yes, so please donate to the show in case I need to go get a good lawyer. I want a lawyer like that. I think my lawyer would be like a My Cousin Vinny lawyer. Or you could just live a life where you don't need a lawyer. I know it sounds crazy. I just like to hang out with my friends and make some jokes, see how my kids are doing, hug them and annoy them and being a weird dad. I don't know what else other guys are doing. I look at these emails between these sad, broken men, and this is kind of like a weird thought, because I'm kind of impugning humanity on Jeffrey Epstein. But if you look at a lot of his interactions, especially as it pertains to Steve Bannon, who just looks like a caterpillar that never turned into a butterfly. He was like, what if I just stay a slug? Their interactions with each other were almost all about Steve Bannon, and to an extent, Noam Chomsky, helping Jeffrey Epstein clean up his public image so he could re-enter society, because he knew he was a social pariah. And on paper, when we see bad guys in movies and the real life bad guys, they kind of holed up in a compound. They got girls and drugs and machine guns, and they're like, this is how I live. I don't want to be. But it seemed like the better part of the last quarter of Jeffrey Epstein's life, or at least the last fifth of it, he was bringing people around because he wanted to re-enter society. Even monsters want to be able to show their face in the sunlight. And Jeffrey Epstein was almost obsessed with going back and forth with Bannon about, like, how do we make the child stuff not be as bad? That's really a lot of what his first deal was about. Yes, he did have to register as a sex offender, but it wasn't. It was kind of opaquely classified as a sex offender. So it allowed the MAGA base, which would be brought into the fold to accept him, to be able to imply that it was underage, but she was like 17 and a half, bro. And you could just see how they're ready to kind of churn that out, because a lot of, or almost all of their candidates now and then are MAGA, are under investigation for some kind of relationships with children. It's interesting how they all find each other. And my question has always been as it relates to these people, do you just kind of naturally run into each other? Like when you go overseas and, you run into another American, you're like, oh, it's so weird to see you here. But usually kind of it's because you're like at a Pizza Hut right in front of the Roman Coliseum. And that's where all the out-of-towners kind of end up. Or is it like just serendipitous? Like, are people that are more prone to be selfish? Because a lot of these things are just like, I don't care what happens to these young girls. This is what I want, and I got the money and the means, and so this is what it'll be. What do you guys think? Because it can't be just a total coincidence that everybody involved in this regime, or nearly everybody, is in some way related to underage, activities. That can't be. I don't know anybody that knows anybody that has these connections, but all these people, it's almost a connection. It's almost a direct connection with one, whether it's Pam Bondi, Steve Bannon, Jeffrey Epstein. Then you see the connections where it goes to Bill Gates and authors and, the pilots and the athletes and Brett Ratner, who is, let me see if I can pull that. I made a Flowchart of Shadiness. I said I was going to pull up. I don't know how much you'll be able to see on here, but this is what I do in my free time. Oh, here it is. This is what I call my Flowchart of Shadiness. This is just one corner. This is your effing government. This is your television. Okay, so like let's just look at this. Obviously it came out a couple weeks ago with the first Epstein file dump that Barry Weiss's wife was good friends with Jeffrey Epstein. Barry Weiss then goes on to take over and become the editor-in-chief of CBS, even though her previous experience in running one of the three major television networks came from having a Substack and a podcast. She's now the head of CBS. Barry Weiss then being very Epstein friendly. Who's her first hire? One of them, Peter Attia, the longevity guy who was sending emails to Jeffrey Epstein saying, basically paraphrasing, I can't believe how cool your life is. And it sucks that I know you and I can't tell anybody because your life is so awesome, of destroying and apparently, allegedly, maybe, possibly murdering thousands of young girls. He thought that was so cool, totally rad. And also, Barry Weiss does her job. And remember, the first kind of introduction we realized to how things were going to run at CBS was that she squashed the CCOT story, which was the story about us illegally taking people suspected of being involved in gang and drug culture and activity, and without trial or anything, just sending them to a gulag. Where was that in? What country was that in? Panama? No, in Central America, one of them. And that story was about to come out, and Barry Weiss is like, no, I don't think we're going to air that. So yeah, and let's just look around this chart at all this kind of interesting stuff. And I noticed with the CBS, I wrote propaganda on there because 2 Sundays ago, when the latest file dump occurred, instead of maybe addressing what everybody in the country is talking about, CBS ran a montage of former celebrity interviews. Okay. We talked a little bit about Steve Bannon, who is in trouble right now. Guys, don't forget, Steve Bannon is kind of in hot water because Steve Bannon has been asked to account for, I believe, $2.7 million because, don't forget, he went to jail and was indicted during Trump 1.0 Because do you guys remember he had that bullshit Build the Wall Foundation, that bullshit Build the Wall Foundation, and the wall actually turned into a more like a slide, and all the people's money slid right down that into his pockets. He was famously arrested on his boat and went to jail for that. Trump pardoned him, don't worry, just in time for him to get out and get ready to go back to jail. That's right, slug boy. You're headed on back because, a lot changed since his first arrest. He's been arrested several times, but Slug Boy found out that, you can get these MAGA sycophants to buy these meme coins. And so that's what he tried to do. Do you guys know about the FJB coin? And we'll just leave the F for there. It was F Joe Biden. That was a coin people were buying. And also there was a meme coin, and I'm not joking, called the fart coin. That's the level we're talking about, guys. The fart coin. And what you do with these coins is you, as a MAGA sycophant, you finish your Mountain Dew Code Red, you yell up the stairs saying, "Mom, stop asking me to get a job." Then you use 2 derogatory terms to describe her. You walk up the stairs, slam the basement door, come back downstairs, and then you buy some of these coins. And these coins are meant to accrue value. So you buy one of these nonsense coins at, I don't know, $1, and that you hope that enough other sad, broken men put their money into this pile, and now the coin is worth more money. That's basically what it is. But really what it is they use these kind of right-wing kind of virtue signaling, saying, and the money goes to good things like the Wounded Warriors Project and all that kind of stuff. The fact that they use these draft dodgers, these fake war veterans, use actual footage of veterans that have lost limbs to say that, hey, some of the money you're putting into the fart coin, I'll say that again, some of the money that you're putting into the fart coin is going to go to the Wounded Warriors Project. And guess what, guys? It's not. I know. I'll give you a second. Hang on to your hat. It's bullshit. And there's a part of me that's like, of course it is. So how can I feel sorry? And then the other part of me agrees with that part of me. But nonetheless, Steve Bannon, who's all up in the Epstein Files, my thing, not even just the gross nature of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, but the fact that they were taking mirror selfies. I got a lot of homeboys, guys that I love, guys that I've said, if anything happens to me, please take care of my kids. And I'll do the same for you. Guys that I love like brothers. We've never taken a mirror selfie. I couldn't even imagine a situation in which I call, hey, Donnie, John, come over here, man. Let's get a mirror selfie. Wherever we were going, I would not make it there. There would be some furniture moving. It's a very weird thing, but he worshiped Jeffrey Epstein, and he worships and loves to rip off this base that keeps coming back. So I don't know. That's what I would do if I was Bannon's lawyer. I'd be like, they still here. What do you want us to do? They keep giving us their money. But he's been called to the table and asked where the $2.7 million is for these projects, like the Wounded Warriors Project, the project that I think we're all behind. And he was like, the what now? And because of that, he'll probably be going to jail if his MAGA followers don't get their hands on him first. So, wow, Steve Bannon, you're going to be, we have our first president that's the 2-time, 1-term president, and you're going to have gone to jail under both of those administrations. So I believe that if you play your cards right, they'll be like, maybe Trump will make a special jail plaque for you, because he's trying to put up as much architecture as he can as his time comes to a close. And I don't want to forget about this really quickly. Obviously, we know Ghislaine. We're going to get all into this, but also Brett Ratner. He was accused of SA, and he was one of the first people to be outed in the Me Too films. And don't forget, he was the first person tapped. Hey, like, do you want to make this Melania film? And he was like, what? And they were like, you're doing it. He was like, fine. And so all these people are all connected. We are going to get all up in this. But in the meantime, I say we talk about this before we get out of here. Did you guys see the Super Bowl ring commercial that scared the S out of everybody, especially since we're all pretty sure that we're living in a surveillance state? Basically, the ring commercial is like, if your dog is lost, the ring camera has it for us a function called search party that can identify, it can turn on everybody else's ring camera and identify your pup so we can find it. And it was some kid hugging a golden retriever, like, oh, I thank you, mass surveillance state. Well, a lot of Americans, we're a lot more savvy and we're not as drunk as we used to be during the Super Bowl. Remember, drinking is down, and people were like, if it can locate a dog, could it locate a face? And they were like, nah. And also, as I watched it, I was like, aren't most dogs, especially the ones you get from the vet, almost all dogs microchipped anyway? You can track dogs. You don't need ring cameras to do that, but you do need ring cameras to track people. That's right. Remember when they were saying, well, we're going to pull ICE back, except for this morning when I was going in downtown Denver, but maybe you don't need to have a bunch of undereducated criminals wearing masks on your street, ruining your political chances for re-election, when you can just track them through the sky. Because Ring had a fledgling partnership with Flock. Flock is all the cameras that aren't on your house. They're the cameras that are at the intersection that get your license plate. Those cameras where you just like, they're on the street corner and like you just look up and you're like, what's that camera for? Camera's for you, bruh. So Ring was going to team up with the Flock. Flock also has a whole bunch of drones. So it's literally the movie Enemy of the State. You are talking about street corner cameras, cameras with the street lights, cameras that come along with a lot of solar paneling, cameras that are on people's house so you can get the street level vision. And they were going to partner together. And a lot of people were like, F that. And enough people spoke out and canceled their Ring. First of all, fuck Ring. I'm sorry. What do you need a Ring? I was like, you don't need it. What is it going to do? Somebody might be stealing a package. Cool. What are you going to do? Yell at them? Tell them their mom's going to be real disappointed? I never liked Ring. And this is way before I was more conscious of a mass surveillance state. I think it's a bad idea that you are constantly being alerted when somebody is walking past your house. You're at the game, bro. Let it go. Oh, excuse me. I missed that game tying field goal. Apparently, 3 little girls just walked past my door, headed home. So I missed that. I'm taken out of my reality. Anytime somebody walks past my house, that's effing weird, bro. It's super weird. I don't think it's good for the human spirit to be constantly taken out of whatever environment you're in, to be like, oh, dog food delivered. Who gives an effing S? Live your life. I even, when I did get my Ring doorbell camera, and I did it for the reason that a lot of people did, I did get one package stolen, and I got rid of it because I got that Ring Neighbors thing where not only do you get the information about who's walking past your home, but what made me get rid of the whole thing was like, it also came with an app where it's like the Neighbors app where you would just get alerts. It'd be like, bicycle stolen on 10th and Union. Gangbangers spray painting the word thug life on a garage on 9th in Pennsylvania. Like literally, it was like for terrified MAGA housewives. I was like, what is this? Like, I'm not living like this. So because of that, I got rid of it. And guess what, guys? I'm still here. I think it shows you that you don't need to be alerted about everything, because even the things you're alerted about that you might not be happy about, somebody stealing your package, what are you going to be like? Hey, I know your mama. It's over. Amazon will just give you another one anyway. Who gives an F? So moving on, F Ring, get rid of your Ring right now. That is mass surveillance. And yeah, but sorry about that rant, but it really bothered me when I saw that. I was like, what is this bullshit? Like during There I was like, and of course they're going to use dogs. It's like, that's everybody's word. What if your dog knows one thing? Who opens jars for it? And guess what? It's you. They're going to find their way back. Okay. Your dog's going to get hungry and wander on back. Big trust on that. And I'm sorry for anybody that lost a dog. That sucks. But I'm kind of being a dick. Before we get out of here, I will say this interesting news note to lead into tomorrow's show. 29 Republicans have decided not to run. There's a company that had 500 employees, and 29 of them just out of nowhere, like, yeah, we're going to retire. What would you do with that company's stock? Would you think that that company's on the right track or the wrong track? I know what I think. I think they know. Who sang the song? They know. I don't know. But they know what's coming down that hill. And it is an avalanche of disgusting emails, faces of little girls, and the people, us. We are going to be at the gate. And I think they're stalling. I think they're deleting. But what happened is that they've employed clowns, and they're unable to kind of hide the things that would happen when you get people that are like a Bill Barr, like a person whose father was directly connected with espionage, allegedly, and Bill Barr, who allegedly, you don't forget, the first person that hired Jeffrey Epstein at the Dalton School was Bill Barr's father. Isn't it weird? We keep seeing the same names. Years ago, hired Jeffrey Epstein, a college dropout at one of the most prestigious schools in New York City before he was kicked out for being a dirtbag, wearing his shirt unbuttoned down to basically the navel. Hired this guy. Why? Then he was hired to a prestigious financial firm. He has no record of any transactions or making any amount of money. But, he continued to move up the ranks. He was stitched up in a major Ponzi scheme in which his partner went to jail. Epstein didn't. Why? Oh, yeah. And the guy that he did the Ponzi scheme with died under mysterious circumstances. Neither here nor there. I'm just saying this has all been happening for a long time. And you used to have people like Bill Barr allegedly involved in these kinds of things. Remember how hands-on he was with Trump 1.0? He was supposed to be the adult in the room. He was the fixer because guys like him allegedly know how to fix things like this. But Bill Barr, one, probably saw, I don't know if he saw the Epstein thing on the horizon, but he was just like, this is a situation that's untenable. I can't handle it. And he stepped aside. And now you have filling in for people like that. You have Pam Bondis stepping in. You have Kash Patel's stepping in. You have Kristi Noem's stepping in after she's gone through her 7th J-Lo outfit change of that day. And what happens when you have those kind of people stepping in, when you look at the meth We're On It campaign that Kristi Noem backed up when she was governor of South Dakota, and you say, I want her on my team, what happens is you have this moron coming on television telling everybody that Alex Peretti was there to massacre ICE agents and that he was, an enemy of the state, even though she had no idea there's a thing called phones, and everybody had already seen the video. And so when you have people that aren't savvy, you have situations like they find themselves in now. When you used to turn to fixers, when you used to turn to guys that have been like, hey, I cleaned up this genocide we did in this country. Oh, I can get rid of a couple hookers that may have met their end. I can get rid of a couple accusations from some 10-year-old girls. Those guys are gone. And all you have is Kash Patel staring at the camera, at least one of his eyes, and lying, saying that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked women to himself. And the price to pay for that is coming. But now that your base is turned on you, The Supreme Court can only help you so much. Your troops on the ground in Minneapolis failed. You've tipped your hand about trying to go after the voting rolls. And what's next is a whole bunch of indictments, a whole bunch of people turning on each other, televised trials, and eventually the end of this nightmare. Colleagues, I love you. Make sure to like and subscribe. Tori will be back with Michael Dean, and we'll have all our stuff. Sorry, but at least, we talk to each other, and you guys got to see my flow chart of shadiness. I love you guys. Love you, colleagues. See you tomorrow.